Opponents of Proposition 8 said gay marriage has nothing to do with schools. Then a public school took first graders to a lesbian wedding, calling it a teachable moment. Now a liberal education politician says schools aren't required to teach about marriage, yet his official website confirms teaching marriage is required in 96% of schools. And a leading Prop 8 opponent has warned parents cannot remove children from this instruction. Children will be taught about gay marriage unless we vote yes on Proposition 8.
With us on the line is Sonya Eddings Brown. She is the Deputy Communications Director of a group called Yes on 8 Protect Marriage. Thank you very much for joining us on the Tom Leykis Show.
My pleasure.
And I read this proposition, and that commercial has very little to do with what this proposition is, doesn't it?
You know, I can see why you thought that.
But you do understand that the commercial is misleading.
Tom, let me just tell you what happened last week in an East Bay elementary school.
We'll get to that in a second, and I do want you to have a chance to tell your story. But before we get to that, I need you to answer my question. Isn't that commercial misleading?
No, because
Proposition 8 says the following, essentially. It says that you would be essentially reversing the recent decision on gay marriage. And so if you vote yes on 8, it's no to gay marriage. And if you vote no on 8, it's yes to continue with gay marriage. That's what it is.
Well, remember that language was directed by our Attorney General, Jerry Brown, and that was not what our campaign wanted to put on the ballot. That is what the Attorney General decided.
But we're not talking about what the Attorney General decided. We're talking about what the proposition is.
What the proposition is to put a constitutional amendment on the books replacing the language that the California Supreme Court removed against the voice of the voters in May that says between a man and a woman. And what happened was, on the very last page of the decision by the California Supreme Court, the justices literally drew a line through the words between a man and a woman. And when they did that, they changed marriage for everyone in the state, not just for gay couples, and that includes children, because you cannot have any discussion about
again,
marriage
now you're
without
taking this,
separating children
but again,
from it.
That's not what the proposition says.
Well,
and by the way, I'm not picking on you. You know, there's a lot of these. This just happens to be the one that runs the most often. And as we are getting ready to vote, I hear this commercial, and it says almost nothing about what the proposition is.
It isn't fair for voters to have to be detectives to figure out what the propositions are, is it?
But you haven't really done anything to help them solve that problem in that commercial, have you?
We are doing everything that we can to alert voters that.
If you ask the average person who heard that commercial, they believe it's the keep kids from learning about gay marriage in schools proposition. It says nothing about what the proposition is. And the fact is that commercial we just played says nothing about what the proposition is.
That as soon as you take that language out of the state law, gay activists are using it as a can opener to get into our public schools. And they've done it in Massachusetts, and they've done it in California. And if we don't reverse that through a constitutional amendment, then parents should expect.
But is there any reason you don't say what the proposition says and then tell why people should vote for it? And the reason is because you want to misrepresent this so people will vote for it.
So the bottom line is we are trying as quickly as we can to inform voters about a couple of things, that whether or not they like this, gay activists are trying to put it forward. Second, with the absence of that language in our laws, it is going to impact our children, not just adults. And third, everyone that supports gay rights can still support their gay neighbors and colleagues because the domestic partnership statutes already guarantee them every single right that I have as a woman in a traditional marriage.
But there is no evidence that anywhere but in Massachusetts that children are or will be taught about gay marriage. That's your opinion, or the opinion of people who want to get this passed so they can undo gay marriage.
Because in a kindergarten class last week here in California, students were compelled to sign an I am an ally card. Says this: I will not use lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender language or slurs. I will intervene when I feel I can in situations where others are using anti-lesbian, gay, bisexual and transgender.
So you're in favor of slurs. Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. I just think that when kids are in kindergarten, we ought to be teaching them to be kind to everyone and not dropping a gay agenda on their heads while they're eating graham crackers.
Well, I don't know what other cards they've signed in the past, and I have a feeling you don't know either.
But these are 5-year-olds, Tom.
Again, but that's up to the local school district, the local parents, and if the local parents object to it, they have means to challenge it. They have means to go to court and fight it.
Well, and why should the parents have to bear that burden, Tom?
Well, because the parents have to bear the burden of every fight about what's going on in their school district. That's how school districts work.
Well, I just don't think that gay activists should be setting our agendas or our curriculum in our schools, and the lion's share of Americans and Californians agree. And it's really been a pleasure to be on your show.
You misrepresented yourself again here, just like in the commercials. But it says nothing about teachers or schools or anything. And in fact, all it is, if you vote yes on Proposition 8, you are taking away the rights of gays and lesbians to get married. And if you vote no, you are saying we're not changing anything. Things stay the same. You know, we have gay and lesbian marriage in California. You know what? We've survived. Society has survived. We have survived. This is a stupid proposition. These commercials are misleading like so many other commercials about propositions, and it just pisses me off. Does it piss you off?